Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we are finally going to talk about this palette from Makeup Revolution in collaboration with Emily Noel. This is the Emily Edit The Once palette. I did pick up the other palette that she came out with, which is called The Needs, but because this palette is so large and I do want to do finger and brush swatches of all 24 shades, I'm just going to focus on the Once palette today. And if you're interested in seeing a dedicated video to the Needs palette, leave a comment, let me know, and I can make that happen as well. I, like most of you, have been a huge Emily Noel fan for many years. She is one of the OGs of beauty YouTube. She seems so sweet and so genuine, and seeing her get a collaboration is just really refreshing. One of the things that I think we all really love about Emily is that she just puts a ton of hard work and love into her videos, and I'm sure that this collaboration was no different. I have never clicked add to cart so quickly in my life. As soon as Emily announced on Instagram that her collaboration was live, I went straight to the Makeup Revolution site and ordered both palettes. I didn't even see her video first. I knew nothing. I just knew that I was buying these palettes. I didn't even wait for them to come to Ulta so that I could get my points. So I've had this palette for a while now. I have been testing it. I've worn several of the shades. I really wanted to take my time and test out a lot of these shadows on my eyes so that I could give you a well-rounded review. I think that's what Emily would do, so that's what I'm gonna do. So I will show you a quick tutorial on how I got this look using the palette. We're also gonna do finger and brush swatches of all 24 shades. First, let me give you just a little bit of product info. The Once palette is priced at $20 US. It is currently available at both Ulta and on the Makeup Revolution website. And if you live internationally and you don't have access to Ulta, you can order from the Makeup Revolution site. They do ship internationally to most countries. This is the outer packaging, the cardboard box that the palette comes in. It has this pretty peach shade with rose gold detailing and Emily's signature. And then on the back, we see a sticker with all the shades and Emily's picture. The palette itself looks pretty much the same on the outside. It's a heavy duty plastic and it has a locking clasp closure, so it is not magnetic. And there's no sticker with the shades on the back, but the shades are labeled on the inside. When you open up the palette, all 24 shades are laid out here with the names below, and then there is a very big mirror here. There is a mix of matte, satin, and shimmer finishes. I like the way it's laid out from light to dark. That's very pleasing to my eye. We're gonna get into the swatches now. I'm gonna be swatching on the back of my hand with absolutely no primer down. The finger swatches will be on top, and then the corresponding brush swatch will be below. For my brush swatches, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, as always. And I'll clean the brush off in between each shade using my Vera Mona color switch. Here's the top row of the palette. Finger swatches are on top and brush swatches are below. We have the Cream, Hobby, Prayer, Grateful, Good Vibes, and Side Hustle. This is the second row from the palette. We have Midwest, Dues Paid, Eve Rose, Belle Violet, Capricorn, and Pi Phi. Here we have row number 3. This one is Oh Heavens, Love Tons, Pizzazz, Family, Top Story, and Apartment. Now for the very last row, we have Cupcake, Laugh Cry, Cheer, Heartbeat, Corduroy, and Dark and Early. Now that you've seen all the swatches, let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I'm starting off with the eye base that I use every single day. It's the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Then I'm going to set that eye base using this white matte shade called the Cream from the Once palette. Then to start working on my crease, I'm gonna grab this shade called Midwest, which is a nice, warm, toasty tan shade, basically my favorite kind of shade to use in the crease. So I'm building that up and blending it out with a fluffy crease brush. Then I'm gonna start adding in this shade called Love Tons, which is a very bright matte berry. I did go in with a light layer of that first and then started to build up that pigment a little bit. That makes it easier to blend out these bright shades in my opinion. Next, I'm gonna take Good Vibes and I'm gonna apply the shimmers with my finger. So just taking my pointer finger and tapping that over the Love Tons shade. Then I'm going to use my favorite shade in the palette. This one's called Top Story. Again, swiping that over my lid with my fingertip. Now I'm going to use Dues Paid, which is a slightly deeper, warm brown shade, and I'm going to smudge that along my lower lash line. Then for my inner corner, I'm taking Oh Heavens, and using my pinky finger, I'm just tapping that right into the inner corners of my eyes. And for a sort of liner look, I'm going to use Pie Fi, which is a deep eggplant, and I'm going to stamp that along my upper lash line with a really thin flat brush. Then I just curled my lashes and added some of my Wonder Beauty Unlashed mascara. And that's my finished look. I think these shades are really bold, but they're not too intimidating. I love the way that all the colors work together without getting too muddied, and I just really love this warm look. I've had so much fun playing with this palette. The color selection in here is incredible. It feels very well balanced between neutral shades and colorful shades. I think these are the kind of colorful shades that people who are afraid of color will be able to incorporate into their looks. The colors feel very Emily with these berries, deep greens, purples. It feels like her aesthetic and the kind of colors that she wears often. Between the names that she chose and the shades that she chose, it feels very Emily, it feels very personal, and that makes me feel more connected to the palette itself. So if you're an Emily fan, I'm sure you'll feel the same way. There is a really, really nice balance of mattes and shimmers in here. I like that we're getting half and half mattes and then shiny shades. There's also a great distribution between light, medium, and deep shades, so you can get all kinds of eye looks between the different finishes and the different tones. This is really an all-in-one palette. I love the way it's laid out. I love the big mirror. I love that there are names in there. It's just really well thought out, and you can tell that a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears went into creating this palette. So I think it's pretty obvious I am a really big fan of this palette. That doesn't mean that I have absolutely no complaints about it. There are a few shades in here that left me wanting more. Namely, the two dark purple mattes. They just weren't quite as dark and pigmented once applied to the eye as I wanted them to be. They still blend really nicely on the eye. I just felt like I wanted just a little bit more out of those. Same for the two pale shimmery purpley shades, which I'm so sad to say that because they're the shades that are named after her daughters, Eve Rose and Belle Violet. Those two shades just weren't quite as intense as I wanted them to be. Since they are shimmers, I think they would perform really well as a topper, which is how I've been using them, kind of layered over another matte or another shimmer to give an iridescence to it. Especially the shade Belle Violet, I just wish that it kind of stood on its own a little bit more, because when I swatch it on my finger, this is the shade right here, it just looks like this beautiful bluish silver, and it looks really, really bright and metallic. But when I swatch it, I feel like some of that intensity just kind of gets lost. It's still a pretty shade, it's just I kind of wanted a little bit more oomph out of those two. Overall, both the mattes and the shimmers are really soft. They blend beautifully. One thing that I'm very, very impressed by from such an inexpensive palette is that these shades hold their color once they're applied to the eye. A lot of the time, drugstore or affordable shadows might look beautiful in the pan, they might even swatch well, but once they go onto the eye and start getting blended out, the color just seems not quite as saturated. That is not the case for these. These really hold their intensity once they're applied to the eye. I think you can tell from the eye look that I did today that just color really pops, and it's not so soft and pigmented that it's difficult to work with like an Anastasia shadow might be. Dark green shades tend to just turn into a dark muddy mess once they're applied to the lid. That is not the case with these. They are so bright and pigmented. They stay green on the eye. This is something I haven't really encountered much in any palette, whether it's affordable or high-end. And I know this is super basic, but this bright gold called Top Story is my favorite shade in the palette. It's just shiny and metallic, and it blends onto the eye so easily and so beautifully. So I was particularly impressed with those shades, but overall I've had a good experience as far as application goes with all the shades I've tried. My only other complaint with this palette is wear time. While these shadows do apply really beautifully, they hold their color, they blend into each other really nicely without losing their pigmentation, I do find that after a few hours, the shadows start to fade on my lids. I always use the exact same eye primer no matter what eyeshadow I'm wearing, so I know it's nothing to do with primer. Just after a few hours, I feel that particularly in the crease area, these shadows have started to kind of wear away. Can you tell what I mean right here? Like, see how my crease is just kind of like disappearing a little bit? I don't know if you can tell as much as I can tell in person. Just like this area right here, the shadow's already kind of wearing away. That's a really attractive angle, by the way. It's not the end of the world. I don't think that this makes it a bad palette by any means. Overall, I'm really impressed, especially considering that this is a $20 palette with 24 shades, less than $1 per shadow. I also find that these touch up really nicely. So if I go back in with my crease shade and just layer a little bit back in there, then it doesn't screw up my whole eye look. It is easy to fix. It's just something that I wanted to put out there because I have experienced it. For the price, you cannot beat this palette. Color selection is beautiful. So excited for Emily. In a time when it's hard to know who to trust on YouTube, Emily is really easy to trust. She definitely deserves this recognition. I hope this is just the beginning of many more successful collaborations. The palette's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend that you check it out. This is not the last you'll see of this palette for sure. If you want to see more looks with this, or if you want to see a video about the needs, please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this palette. Have you picked it up? What shades are you loving? I always love to hear what you guys think about things too. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, almost broke my palette. No. What? Ma'am, excuse me. Quiet in the filming room, please. My dog's sleeping right under my ring light. What? I'm fine. Internationally. Hey girl. What am I trying to say? It's been so hard not watching other people's videos. I don't know if you know this about me, but if I'm gonna review a product, I try not to watch other videos about it because I don't want other people's like opinions or the way they use it or the way they phrase things to slip into my brain and influence my video. So now that I've filmed this, I'm gonna go watch so many videos. Even some of my friends have done videos about this and I've been dying to watch them. So now I can finally go watch Kathleen Light's video. I can go watch Stephanie Marie's video. Actually, that's what I'm gonna go do now. So gotta go, bye.